Interhalogen compounds. Now, what are interhalogen compounds? Different halogen reacts with each other to form interhalogen compounds. Means the compounds which are formed by the reaction between the different halogens, those compounds are known as interhalogen compounds. So the definition becomes when different halogens, when different halogen combines with each other, when different halogens combine with each other, then we get interhalogen compounds. Now, the interhalogen compounds, the general formula of the interhalogen compound, the general formula is XX-N. The general formula of different interhalogen compounds is XX-N, where this X represent the halogen of bigger size, or you may say the halogen of less electronegativity, and this represent the halogen of smaller size or higher electronegativity, and this N represent the number of X dash. X represent the number of X dash. So interhalogen compounds, the general formula of interhalogen compounds is XX-N, where X represent the halogen of bigger size, X dash represent the halogen of smaller size, and N represent the number of the halogen which is smaller in size. Now, in our previous videos, we have studied that halogen shows 4 different positive oxidation state: +1, +3, +5 and +7. And on the basis of the oxidation state, interhalogen compounds are classified into 4 different categories. So interhalogen compounds are classified into 4 different categories. Now, what are these 4 different categories? First, on the basis of +1 oxidation state, that is XX dash. Second, on the basis of +3 oxidation state, that is XX3 dash. Third, on the basis of +5 oxidation state, that is XX5 dash. And fourth, on the basis of +7 oxidation state, that is XX7 dash. Now, the different examples of these different interhalogen compounds are: first, we get ClF, ClF3 and ClF5, but we didn't get ClF7. Next, we are getting BrF and BrCl, BrF3 and BrF5, but not BrF7. We get IF, ICl, IBr. We get IF3, ICl3. We get IF5 and we also get IF7. So these are the different examples which we get of different interhalogen types. Now, if we talk about the physical state of these different interhalogens, as we know that with the increase in the size, with the increase in the atomic mass, what happened? The magnitude of the van der Waals force of attraction increases, and due to the increase in the magnitude of the van der Waals force of attraction, what happened? The gas become converted into liquid, and liquid becomes converted into solid. So in this, if I talk about ClF is a colorless gas. ClF is a colorless gas, but BrF is a pale brown gas. And if we talk about BrCl is gas, but at room temperature. We get this BrCl in the form of solid state. Now, if I talk about IF, this IF is highly unstable. And if I talk about ICl exists in 2 forms, alpha form and beta form. Alpha form is a ruby red solid. It is a ruby red solid, and the beta form is the brown red solid. Brown red solid. And if I talk about IBR, IBR is a black solid. So the first member of this family, that is XX dash, the first member of this family is a colorless gas, while the last member is a black solid. Why? Because as we move from CLF to IBR, what happened? The van der Waals force of attraction increases, and due to the increase in the van der Waals force of attraction, what happened? The state becomes a liquid, gas to liquid, liquid to solid. Now, if I talk about XX3 dash, this CLF3 is a colorless gas. It is a colorless gas. This BRF3 is yellow orange liquid. It is yellow orange liquid. Now, this IF3 is yellow powder. It is a yellow powder. And this ICL3 is orange solid. In our previous videos also, we have studied that halogens are colorful because they absorb the radiations in the visible light, and the remaining light which they emit, that is also comes under the visible region, as a result of which they become colored. So that's why we are getting different colors. So CLF3 is a colorless gas and ICL3 is orange solid. So again, gas converted into solid due to the increase in the van der Waals radii. Next, this CLF5 is a colorless gas. It is a colorless gas, and these two are colorless liquid. And this IF7 is a colorless gas. So these are the different physical states of the different interhalogen compounds. So interhalogen compounds are the compounds which are formed by the different halogens. When different halogens combines together, then they form interhalogen compounds. The general formula of the different interhalogen compound is XX-N, where X represent the halogen of bigger size, X dash represent the halogen of the smaller size, and N represent the number of the halogen of smaller size. Now, depending upon the oxidation state exhibited by the halogens, the interhalogen compounds are classified into 4 categories: XX dash, XX3 dash, XX5 dash, and XX7 dash. And these are the different examples of the different interhalogen compounds. Now, if we talk about the preparation of the interhalogen compounds, so interhalogen compounds are prepared either by the direct combinations of the halogen or by the action of a more electronegative halogens to the less electronegative interhalogen compound. And the product, when different reactions takes place, the product depend upon the conditions also. So while preparing, we can prepare the interhalogen compounds either by the direct combination or by the action of the lower interhalogen compounds to higher electronegative halogen. But depending upon the conditions, we get different product. So now we will see the preparation of the interhalogen compounds. So in preparation, suppose Cl2 gas reacts with F2 gas. Now if I take equal volume of chlorine and fluorine, and keep the temperature 473 Kelvin, then I get chlorine fluoride. And if I take F2 in excess, and keep the temperature 573 Kelvin, then I get ClF3. And if I react ClF gas with the F2 gas, at 475 to 575 Kelvin, then I get ClF3. So we can prepare the interhalogen compounds either by the direct combination or by the action of the lower halogen with the more electronegative halogen. But if we change the condition, here I am taking equal volume, here I am taking excess of fluorine. Here I am keeping the temperature 473 Kelvin, here I am keeping the temperature 573 Kelvin. So by changing the temperature, by changing the conditions, the product also get changed. So we can prepare interhalogen compounds either by the direct reaction or by the action of the more electronegative halogen to the lower interhalogen compounds, Br2 reacts with fluorine, and that fluorine, if diluted in N2, then I get BrF3, and Br2 when react with excess of normal fluorine, then I get BrF5. So in both the case, the reactants are only bromine and fluorine. But in first, I have diluted fluorine in liquid nitrogen, and in second, I am keeping the fluorine in excess quantity. So due to the change in the condition, what happened? My product also get changes and it becomes BrF3 and BrF5. Similar changes we can make in other interhalogen compounds. Suppose if we take the preparation of the interhalogen compounds of the iodine. So if we take iodine in CCl3F, if I take iodine in CClF, and this iodine when reacts with F2 at 228 Kelvin, if I take the temperature 228 Kelvin, I get IF. But if I take F2, if I react iodine and F2, simple iodine is there. If I react I2 and F2 at 293 Kelvin, then I get IF3. And if I react iodine with fluorine at 573 Kelvin, then I get IF5. And if I take equimolar iodine and chlorine, then I get ICl. So in this way, we notice that by changing the temperature, our product becomes different. So we get different products due to the change in the temperature. In all three reactions, we have only iodine and fluorine, but due to the change in the temperature, we get different products. So by this way, we can prepare different interhalogen compounds. And if we talk about the naming of the interhalogen compounds, interhalogen compounds are named as halogen halides. Where halide represent that halogen which is more electronegative. Suppose if I have IF, now out of IF, fluorine is more electronegative, so it becomes iodine fluoride. Here Cl is more electronegative than iodine, so its name becomes iodine chloride. So if I write the formula on the basis of this method only, then the name becomes halogen halide. Where halogen represent this X and halide represent this X dash. So we can prepare different interhalogen compounds either by the direct combination or by the action of the halogen on the lower interhalogen compounds, and we get different products when we change the different reaction conditions. Now we'll study the different properties of the interhalogen compounds. So properties of different interhalogen compounds are, first of all the interhalogen compounds are essentially covalent in nature. Now why they are covalent in nature? Because of very less electronegative difference among the halogens. Those halogens which are combining with each other, the electronegativity difference between those halogens is very less. Therefore, all the interhalogen compounds are essentially covalent. Second, all the interhalogen compounds are diamagnetic in nature due to the presence of paired electrons. So all the interhalogen compounds are diamagnetic in nature due to the presence of paired electrons. Next, the different physical properties. The different physical properties of the interhalogen compounds lies in between the constituent of that particular interhalogen compound. For example, if I have chlorine fluoride, if I have ClF, then the different physical properties of ClF exist between the properties of the chlorine and the properties of the fluorine. But the melting point and the boiling point, are little bit higher than the halogens. Now the reason behind this is, if we talk about halogens, the halogens are non-polar. But due to the little bit difference in the electronegativity, the interhalogen compounds are slightly polar in nature. And due to the slightly polar nature, what happened? The force exists a dipole-dipole interaction force which is greater than the London force. In our 11th class, we have studied different intermolecular forces of attraction. So if we talk about halogens, in halogens we have London forces. But in interhalogen compounds, due to the generation of a little bit polarity, we have dipole-dipole interaction bond which is greater than the London forces. And because of this, the melting and boiling point of the interhalogen compounds are slightly higher, little bit higher than the halogens. So the melting point and boiling point, of the interhalogen compounds are slightly greater than that of the halogens. Why? The reason is the polarity. Which is generated in the interhalogen compound due to a little bit difference in the electronegativity of the two bonded halogens. Now, next we'll talk about the thermal stability. Now, the stability of the interhalogen compounds decreases with the decrease in the size of the central atom due to the electronegativity difference. So what happened? Thermal stability decreases due to the decrease in the size of the central atom. Now suppose if I talk about BrF3, IF3 and ClF3. If I talk about these three, so the most stable is IF3 and the least stable is ClF3. Why? Because in IF3, the size of the central atom is greater than that of the ClF3. Now, what is the reason behind this? If I compare the electronegativity difference of IF, the electronegativity difference of IF is greater than that of the ClF. Due to the greater electronegativity difference, what happened? The polarity is greater than that of the ClF. As a result of greater polarity, the magnitude of the dipole-dipole interaction is greater in IF3 as compared to ClF3. And because of this reason, IF3 is more thermally stable as compared to the ClF3. So, thermal stability decreases with the decrease in the size of the central atom due to the electronegativity difference. So, size of the central atom decreases and thermal stability also decreases. So, thermal stability of the interhalogen compounds depend upon the size of the central atom. Size of the central atom decreases, thermal stability also decreases. Now, next we will talk about the reactivity. Fifth, we will talk about the reactivity. Now, interhalogen compounds are more reactive than the halogen compounds except F2. Means F2 is that halogen which is even more reactive than the interhalogen compound. Now, what is the reason behind this? We know that in F2 there is a very strong electronic repulsion between the lone pair of electrons of the 2-fluorine. As a result of which its bond dissociation energy become very less and the reaction is exothermic. Because of these two reasons, uh, the fluorine is highly reactive. The fluorine is highly reactive. But if we talk about the other halogens, in other halogens what happened? The bonding is between the same orbital. Suppose if I talk about Cl-Cl bonding. If I talk about Cl-Cl bonding, in Cl-Cl bonding, the bonding is between 3p and 3p. But if I talk about ClF bonding, then the bonding is between 3p and 2p. Now we know that the bonding between the same orbital is more stronger than the bonding between the different orbitals. So 3p is more stronger than the 3p2p. As a result of which ClF is more reactive than Cl-Cl because it becomes difficult for us to break the Cl-Cl bond as compared to ClF. So the interhalogen compounds, they are more reactive than that of the halogen except F2. Now why interhalogen compounds are more reactive? Because of the difference in the bonding orbitals. Because of the difference in the bonding orbitals, their bond is weaker than the halogens. And why F2 is more reactive than interhalogen compound? First, due to its exothermic nature, and second one, very less bond dissociation enthalpy is required to break the bond because of the very high electronic repulsion between the lone pair of the 2-fluorine atoms. Now, if we talk about the order of the reactivity, then one statement you have to keep in your mind that 5-chlorine, one statement you have to keep in your mind that 3-chlorine ने 5 बोरी में, there is a बोरी, 3-क्लोरीन ने 5 बोरी में 7 आयोडीन के फॉलिकल्स छोड़ दिए. ठीक है. What you have to keep in your mind in your statement that 3 चोरों ने 5 बोरी में 7 आयोडीन के फॉलिकल्स छोड़ दिए. नाउ इससे क्या बनेगा? Look. Now follicles means fluorine. Now 3-chlorine means ClF3. 3 चोर मतलब ClF3 ने 5 बोरी में means BrF5. 5 बोरी में 7 iodine means IF7. So the reactivity order is this. Now after this I can arrange the reactivity order. ClF3, the lower member of ClF3 is ClF. So next is ClF. The lower member of BrF3 is F5 is BrF3. The lower member of IF7 is IF5. Now there is no lower member of ClF. The lower member of BrF3 is BrF. The lower member of IF5 is IF3 and the lower member of iodine is IF. So this is the sequence of the reactivity of the different halogen compounds, and from this we get to know the most reactive is ClF3 and the least reactive is IF. So simply you have to keep this statement in your mind, and after this you can arrange the reactivity series by your own. So this is the reactivity of the interhalogen compound. Sixth property is ionization. So interhalogen compound often undergo ionization in the fused state or in the solution. Means when the interhalogen compounds are present in their molten state or in the solution form, then they undergo ionization. Suppose if I have ICl So ICl undergo ionization to form I positive and ICl2 negative. And if we have ICl3, it undergoes ionization to form ICl2 positive plus ICl4 negative. Now, how we get to know that the interhalogen compounds undergo ionization? When we do the electrolysis of the fused interhalogen compounds. When we do the electrolysis of the fused interhalogen compounds, when we do the electrolysis of ICl, we get iodine at cathode and both iodine and chlorine at anode. So both iodine and chlorine at anode means this ion goes towards the anode. And when we electrolyzed the fused ICl3, then we get both iodine and chlorine, at cathode and anode, because this ICl2 goes towards the cathode, so we get I2 plus Cl2, and this also goes towards anode, we get I2 plus Cl2. So with the help of the electrolysis product, we get to know that the interhalogen compound also undergo ionization when they are present in the fused state or in the or in the solution form. Now the seventh property. The seventh property is the fluorides. The halogen fluorides act as a fluorinating agent. And eighth property is they undergoes hydrolysis. The interhalogen compound undergoes hydrolysis and form halide and oxohalide ion. They form halide and the oxohalide ion, and the oxohalide ion is always formed by the bigger halogen. Means if we have ICl, then iodine forms the oxohalide and Cl forms the halide. For example, if ClF reacts with water, then we get HCl because then we get HF because fluorine is smaller in size, and HOCl. So by hydrolysis we get halide and oxohalide is formed by the halogen of the halogen having the bigger size. So these are the different properties of the interhalogen compounds. Now we will talk about the structures of the interhalogen compounds. If we talk about the structure of the interhalogen compounds, the first type of the interhalogen compounds are XX type. Now because in this type of interhalogen compounds we have only two atoms. Therefore the structure is obviously linear. Because we have only two atoms. So one is arranged here, one is arranged here. There is no doubt that the shape is the linear, the geometry is the linear. But if we talk about X-3, so what is the shape? X is a halogen. Now X is the central atom and it is a halogen. Any halogen, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, any halogen. If it is any halogen, then its configuration becomes NS2, NP5 and ND0, N-1D0. This is the configuration, or N-1D0 not, ND0. Clear? Any chlorine, bromine and iodine. Now it required 3 orbitals having 1 electron. Because this X is approached by the 3 different halogens. So this X requires 3 orbitals which have singly filled electron. So as a result of which, in the excited state, one of the electron from the P jump to D. one of the electron from P jump to D, and these 5 participate in the hybridization process. So in the hybrid state, we get sp3d 5 orbitals, in which the number of electrons are like this, and 4d are vacant, unhybridized. Clear? Why only one electron jump? Because this compound requires 3 such orbitals which contain half-filled electron, and by jumping only one electron we get 3 orbitals in which we have unpaired electrons. Now this X dash will approach here, here and here. So the hybridization is sp3d. In sp3d hybridization, if the central atom is surrounded by all bond pair, then the geometry is regular one and it is the trigonal bipyramidal. But in this, the central atom is surrounded by 3 bond pair and 2 lone pairs. That's why the shape becomes distorted, the geometry becomes distorted, and it becomes T-shape. So when we have XX3 then the structure is X dash with 2 lone pairs. In the equatorial plane, not in the axial plane. Okay, this we have studied in our 11th class. So in XX3 the shape is T-shape. The geometry becomes T-shape. The structure becomes T-shape. And this we don't have to learn. We can find out through this method by keeping the configuration in your mind that yes, we require 3 orbitals, and in halogen we have ns2 and np5, so one electron will jump from P to D, so we get sp3 hybridization, but because of the 2 lone pair we get T-shaped geometry. Similarly, we'll find out the shape in the XX5 and XX7. Now suppose if it is XX5, so X in ground state, the configuration is same, but in excited state, one electron will jump here. Why? Because here we want 5 such orbitals in which we have the unpaired electrons. In the previous we want only 3, therefore only 1 electron will jump, but here we want 5, so 2 electrons from P jump to D. Now in the hybrid state we get one more hybridized orbital, and the configuration is like this. So here comes XX In 5 these we get XX and 1 remain lone pair, and here 3 d orbitals are unhybridized. So because of this we get sp3d2 hybridization, and in sp3d2 hybridization we know that geometry is octahedral or square bipyramidal, but due to the presence of this lone pair the geometry becomes square pyramidal. So in this case the structure is square pyramidal, and if I draw it becomes X dash square and pyramidal X dash. Here one lone pair is there. So this is the shape of XX5 interhalogen compounds. Now if I talk about XX7, so do along with me. Here if I have XX7, then I want 7 unpaired electron orbitals. So one of the electron from here also goes here, as a result of which we get how many hybridized orbital? 6 and 2 unhybridized d orbital, and the hybridization become sp3d3. The shape is pentagonal, bipyramidal, and because all are surrounded by the bond pairs. Here also we have one bond pair. So because all the orbitals are bond pairs, so X is surrounded by only bond pair. So the geometry is pentagonal bipyramidal. X, X dash, X dash, X dash, X dash. Here is the pentagon and bipyramidal. So in this way, if we have X, X dash, the structure is linear. If we have X, X dash 3, the structure is T-shaped. If we have X, X dash 5, the structure is square pyramidal. And if we have X, X 7 dash, then the shape is pentagonal bipyramidal. Pentagonal bipyramidal, and with the help of the hybridization concept, we can easily prove that these interhalogens have these structures. So this is about the structure of the interhalogen compounds. So first use of the interhalogen compounds are, they are used as a non-aqueous solvent. They are used as a non-aqueous solvent. Second, they are used as a fluorinating agent. They are used as a fluorinating agent, very good fluorinating agent. For example, ClF3 and BrF3, they are used to produce UF6, which is very useful in the manufacture of the enriched uranium fuel. We want uranium fuel, and for the preparation of the uranium fuel we want UF6, and that UF6 we can prepare from ClF3 and BrF3. How? When ClF3 reacts with UF, when the ClF3 reacts with UF4, then it gives UF6 plus ClF. So ClF3 acts as a fluorinating agent. When ClF3 reacts with UF4, then we get UF6 plus ClF. Similarly, when BrF3 reacts with UO2, then also we get UF6 plus Br2 plus O2. And this UF6 is used in the preparation of, or in the manufacture of, enriched uranium fuel. Enriched uranium fuel. So these are the uses of the interhalogen compound, means they are used as a non-aqueous solvent and they are used as a very good fluorinating agent. They used to prepare UF6, which is very useful in the preparation of the enriched uranium fuel. So students, that's all for today. We have studied each and everything about the interhalogen compounds. I'll see you in my next video with a new topic of the p block element.